Well, hello, hello, hello. I'm just going to check a couple of you, see if I've got how my mic is, if my sound's good. Hello, 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 Ron. Just give me a sound check here. Tell me if my volume's good, if you can hear me all right. Hello. Sounds good. Okay. That's what I was after. I decided to break out the old microphone because I didn't know how much I'd echo. I'm inside my house. I didn't, out there in the shop, I don't get Wi-Fi out there very good. We're actually a little bit early. I just did that on purpose just to be sure we got everything set up right. Well, it shows we got 4 people in here. I'm just not seeing anybody pop up. And for those of you just coming in, I am a little bit early. I was just trying to get everything set up ahead of time. So hello, Olivia. How do I say that? Olive Sam? Olive Sam? I've seen your name on here before. I've never tried to pronounce it, I don't guess. So there we go. We at 6 o'clock. If y'all got questions, I hope I have answers. Beyond that, I'm just going to kind of tell you the direction I'm going to take the channel. I've been talking about doing some vacation videos. I am going to put some of that kind of stuff on here. Probably going to involve a name change. It's still going to be woodwork related, and there's still going to be CNC. Don't think that's going anywhere. Hello, dude, and Cody. I'm not taking the channel any direction that's going to be too far. I just think there's a lot more I can offer, a lot more videos I can make. And what that would entail is if I could add stuff like camping videos. Yes, Ron, I've got some stuff coming. We went on a week's vacation, and in the middle of the last 2 videos, I haven't got it all edited yet. I don't know how much footage I got. And I don't even have it all downloaded off cards yet. So there's no telling how long it's going to take me to get videos put together. But what I was saying is I'd like to take the channel in just a little bit different direction, just so I can put out more content. There's plenty of other stuff that I do just besides CNC that I could throw more videos on. And it wouldn't necessarily be woodwork, but the CNC would still be here. My idea is I could still do a CNC video every week and the other content. That's kind of what I'm going for. What do I use for editing? Well, I use Movie. You're going to get me to line. Movie Maker, I think. Movie Magic is Apple. iMovie is Maker. Is Apple. I'm sorry. iMovie's Apple. Movie Maker, Movie Magic. I think it's Movie Maker. It's just whatever came on this laptop. And I've never bought anything extra. They have other stuff out there that would do more in the editing side of things. I could make better thumbnails. I could point arrows at things whenever I was wanting to really point stuff out. But I've just never spent the money on it. And I'd prefer to spend the money on tools. See who else we got. Cody Miller in here. Dude, will you be traveling out of the state on your trips or staying local? Well, the last trip was to just outside Branson. I've been there about, 20 times. Growing up, we went there all the time. We drove through town. I really didn't do anything in town. My wife and I didn't. I've been there so many times that none of the shows really interest me. And they may have a lot different stuff now and a lot more to offer. we were just there to kick back and relax and go fishing on Lake Taneycomo. So to answer your question, the biggest part of the trips are probably going to be out of state. I think we've got one coming up for South Dakota. Where's the other one she's wanting to go to? South Dakota. We want to do Yellowstone. We go to Arkansas a lot. Whenever we take short trips, we do Arkansas. Yeah. When are we going to see you in Texas? Well, I'm not sure. What part of Texas are you in? I was down in Dallas about a month ago, Irving area. Come to Arizona. You know, my wife really wants to come to Arizona. Hello, M. Pedmar. My wife really does want to come to Arizona. There is some beautiful country, New Mexico. There's some beautiful country in New Mexico. We actually want to come to the Bloom Festival in Albuquerque, and which we've already missed this year. I don't know if we have or not, but we were going to do the Bloom Festival at some point, and actually have a brother-in-law that's an Albuquerque detective. And Arizona, there's plenty of places. Y'all have a lot of BLM land, a lot of state parks. It's not yet. It's in October. Okay, it's in October. I don't know if we're going to be geared up yet to go in October. And wife reopened a store, so she's selling her clothing out of another store again. Hendrix Woodworking. Hey man, good to see you on. Hey, what's up, Hendrix? So yeah, we're going to plan on traveling out of state, far south by Corpus, about 7 hours south of Dallas. You are right. That is far south. You know, I wouldn't be opposed to going all the way down to the southern coastline of Dallas. We just have to chart a trip around Dallas. Dallas traffic is unbelievable. My father-in-law is a truck driver, and he said Dallas traffic is worse than LA because he was cross country forever, and he would rather drive in LA than Dallas. That tells me a lot, because when I see pictures of LA, I see 7 lanes and sheer chaos, and he's telling me otherwise. Come to the Blue Ridge. Where is the Blue Ridge? Kentucky? Is it down south? Hendrix Woodworking. Where's the Blue Ridge? I'm game for just about any kind of travel. We love just going everywhere, and RVing just in general, just because it's relaxing. You can kick back. I'm going to jump start some of this here. North Carolina, Virginia line. Oh my gosh. Now you're going to get us there. My wife wants to move to either North Carolina or South Carolina. I'm game. I'll move wherever. Something I haven't shared on here. We became grandparents about a month and a half, 2 months ago. The child was premature. He was at 23 weeks. Everything's going great now. He has over doubled his weight. And so I honestly don't believe we're probably going to move too far away from Oklahoma if we get out of state. I would love to go to Eastern Tennessee, Western North Carolina, Western South Carolina. But with a grandkid being here, I'm sure we're not going too far, because we'll be making constant trips there, I'm certain. Thank you, dude. Thanks, Ron. Thanks, Olafson. I hadn't said a lot about it just because he was so premature. You know, there was a lot of stuff going on. There were a lot of complications early on, and it looks like he's pulling out of the woods. So now we're just waiting on his due date so they can let him out and or discharge him so we can actually see him. We haven't actually been able to see him in person just because of the way things have been going. If you make it to Arizona, come on by and see the CNC and pick up some boards. That is awesome. Cody, where are you at in Arizona? And what kind of machine you running? In Pedmar, we're in Virginia. I've been to, thank you. We love Virginia. We've been to Williamsburg, went down to the James River, went out to the Chesapeake Bay. Beautiful country. And I'm all about the history, especially Revolutionary War stuff. Love it. So, like I say, I'm all for traveling or moving someplace or both. But Joseph City by Flagstaff. Okay, I know about where you're at. It amazes me in upper Arizona the kind of winters y'all get. I had no idea. I don't know how everybody else pictures Arizona. When it popped up in my hand, it was just my hand. When it pops up in my head, it's just a deserty, hot place. And clearly, y'all get worse winters in northern Arizona than we do in Oklahoma. Maybe not this last winter, but most of the time. This last winter was a record-setting winter for us here. We got down to like, I don't know, 12 below zero, and we hadn't seen anything below like 5 in 20 years. So it got pretty chilly. So what I was going to say is I'm going to jumpstart part of this. Some of the stuff that I'm going to do coming up, I've mentioned that I'm going to do another a reboot of my CNC build. I've got to do more research again. It's been a long time since I've done that, so I don't remember absolutely everything I did to it. Probably not going to get much into the electronics. That stuff you can actually find whenever you order the drivers, and it'll tell you how to hook a lot of that up. It'll just be the machine and things I'd change about it in general. And that's where I want to go with that. Some of the other stuff I have coming up, I mean, I've just got some other CNC stuff I'm going to do. A couple of them have been requested. One of them is for a commission, and then a couple of others have been requested off the channel. The people want to see some stuff that could be made out of the graphics that I pull up. I'm willing to give it a shot. I mean, I always take suggestions, and if I can get a cool graphic and have the wood to cut it, I'll cut it. And I have no aversions to that. Now, the other thing that I do talk about some is 3D stuff. And like Cody there, love to see the lathe attachment I built. Well, I've got a lathe and I am horrible at running it. And so I don't ever mess with it. Lathes are actually they can be dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. And I'm definitely not an expert when it comes to lathes. You can turn some cool stuff. I'm just not there. Yes, and reboot of the American flag with the USMC logo. Oh, you reminded me. I told you to remind me, and you reminded me. I'm going to look it up and make sure I still got that program, because I've got to make a couple. I forgot. I told you to remind me, and you did. In fact, you can take note right here. I'm going to put it in my notes. American flag with UMC logo. American flag. SMC. Yep. Okay. So it is in my notes, so I will see it. What else we got going on? I mean, beyond that, I'm open to any questions you have. Tell me the direction you want the channel to go. I'm willing to take this thing wherever I'm comfortable with. I mean, I'm not going to go way out on the limb, but it's just going to be easier for me to come up with more content through a week's time, where I can put out more than one video that's not the woodwork related. Reason being is, what you guys don't see is whenever I do a 10-15 minute video on the CNC, that's actually probably about 3 to 4 hours in the shop, which is a lot. And for a video, most videos, I mean, I can name a couple that it's not true, but most videos, whenever they shoot a 15-minute video, they've got 20, 25 minutes of footage that they have to edit. When I shoot a video, I've got 3 to 4 hours of footage to edit. And in fairness, part of it is fast forwarded. A big part of it's fast forwarded. And so doesn't seem like that long. Now, there is excuse me, there is another channel that I follow that he says he does 20 hours of editing per 1 minute of video, which you'll probably never see my video quality get there, because he's made that into a full-time job. And I look at it as more as fun than anything. I do want to see the channel grow, but that is that is beyond my capabilities. Hi, I'm from Brazil, Thiago. I watch your videos. I follow your channel. Very good. Thank you, Thiago. And Christopher Noble, I finished my machine based on your videos. I love it. We'll send you pics. Absolutely send me pics. I'm always interested to see what other changes other people make. If y'all remember, whenever I built this thing, this was just kind of something I saw. I wanted one. Didn't have the $10,000 to $15,000 to buy a small one, which about my size. So I took to figuring out how to build one. It helped that I was a computer science major in college. Yes, it is. I take a lot of time with my carvings too, and my machine is much smaller than yours. They do take a lot of time. And I'd bounce around a lot. The point I was trying to get to a while ago about 3D stuff. Man, 3D stuff. I did a 3D American flag here a while back. I mean, it's been a long time ago, and that thing I think was over a 3-hour cut time just for the cut. Now, painting alone was another 2 to 3 hours. So I don't do a lot of 3D stuff simply for the time. I don't live in my shop. It's not air conditioned. And this time of year I would melt down completely. I was saying, what software are you using and where do you get your parts? Okay. The software is Vectric Aspire. I started out with Vectric VCarve, and just to give you a basis of it, VCarve, I guess it's VCarve Pro, is $700. I had a lucky little spin in a casino, which I rarely do anymore. Went into a casino and hit $1,300 and upgraded to the $2,000 Aspire. That way I could do 3D stuff. And I don't use it. I need to. And when I do use the 3D stuff, you'll know it because I'll be working on a video. I may be working on one video at once, shooting the 3D and getting it all edited, and then shooting a carving that I normally do. I would love to do more of that, but time's the big killer here. Okay, that was my software. It's Vectric Aspire. And where do I get my parts? Most of the parts that were from my machine, you can find them down below in the description box on just about any of my videos. I linked all of them, and I got 90% of them off. I'd say 90% of them, 95, 97% of them off Amazon. And I just left links for it, so it'd be easier for you to find to see what I was using. And you'll see some of the stuff is pricey. I mean, rails I hadn't even checked them lately, but I bet they're over $200. The router was $300, $400. So there are parts of it that are very expensive. Another big part of it wasn't. I mean, the upside of the frame that I built, the reason I welded it, I had the steel laying around. I'd built some RV and boat storage years ago. And so I had leftover metal. I had a welder. I know how to weld. So that's why mine ended up being steel. I'm planning mine a lot from your design. Time just has, I understand, Hendrix. The thing you didn't see is I wasn't doing the build. I wasn't videoing the build as it was going. It took 6 months, maybe a little more, to actually build my machine. But I was working 40 hours a week with a highway patrol at the time. And it was a process. I mean, because I took my time because I needed everything to be square and level and perpendicular so everything would track smoothly. And I'll get into all that, the build stuff more. There are a lot of things I'd do different if I did it again, but I'm satisfied with the machine. I mean, obviously I hadn't tried to build another one because this one works great. Yeah, I went with your design. It takes a while to it takes a long while to get everything right. And for you to feel comfortable with trying to even run it, because, you get one of those rail, one of your side rails, a 16th out, a 32nd out, you're going to do some damage to the machine because those things are so precise. The way those things run down there, the slides run down those rails, they have to be perfectly perfectly parallel. Now your gantry has to be perfectly perpendicular, so everything works that way. At worst, what you're going to have is a bent rail. I mean, if you're not perfectly parallel, but it add up. Like I said, those rails weren't cheap when I bought them. Let's see. So I finished and I got that one. I told you. Oh, sorry, I just kicked the table. What software? I got that. Parts planning. Oh, something else I was going to point out. I mentioned here a few videos ago when I said I was going to do a live stream that I'd been talking to Daniel over at Arms Family Homestead, and he had asked me how many live streams I'd done, and I told him one. Well, I set this up. I set up a reminder to let everybody know I was doing this, and I went into the live section of YouTube. Wow, how quickly memory leaves you. I did 3 last year. Now, 1 or 2 of them probably was on the phone when I was ill, but one of them was an honest to goodness out in my shop live stream. And I guess that's the one I was thinking of, but I didn't remember the other 2. So go cooking ribs. Got to go cooking ribs. Have a great night. Hey, I hear you. I'd like to have some ribs. I'm probably cooking out on the grill tonight myself. Wish I was smoking, but we don't do a lot of smoking here at my house. We do a lot of smoking in Oklahoma, but I don't have a smoker myself. Let's get some questions going, guys. I'll run out of stuff to talk about if we just sit here. Let's see. So I don't know a couple other channels y'all keep up with. Do y'all keep up with Rustic Woodworks and family? He's a local guy here that I kind of go. He's a deputy, and I kind of pushed him along to get him to doing YouTube also, because he's making these American flags, and which is great. I mean, he has a website. He makes a bunch of money off of it, but he was doing that, and I said, man, put a camera on it. People are going to be interested in this. And with his channel, I'd kind of like to do some of the stuff he's doing with his channel. I'm much into the homesteading. I'm not going to do a garden. I really don't want to have a farm or anything like that. But the stuff he does on his, he kind of turned his woodworking channel into a little bit more, and he still shows woodworking. So that's kind of the pattern I'm going to take off of it. Or the kind of course I'm going to take. M. Pedmar, have you had a lot going on lately? It's easy to lose track. Well, I mean, also I've really had goings on. We just got back from vacation last week. We were gone for a week to Branson, Missouri. Bits, brands, any favorites that stay sharp and last longer? Boy, you're going to put me on the spot. I use one of the ones I use the most is called Vermont. It's generally the V bits that I use are Vermont brand. They're a good bit. The reason I use them is I can get them for $10 a piece. So when I buy them, I buy $100 worth, and I don't have to worry about V bits, because that's the biggest bit that I use. I mean, that's the bit I use most. Now in mills, I use a lot of HQ Master stuff, which is a cheaper bit off of Amazon. But the beauty of them is when I use those end mills and they start to get dull, I trash them. I don't worry about sharpening them. I just trash them and move on to my next one. It keeps all the cuts a lot cleaner. Did it take a while to figure out the wood carving? I feel like I'm doing it wrong, or my bit measurements are off. Well, not. It didn't take me long to figure it out. As far as bit measurements, I mean, so usually what I use is a 90-degree half-inch V bit. So in the half-inch is the width of the head of the bit, the actual cutting part, not the shaft. So give me an idea of what you're talking about when you say your measurements are off. Because I'm wondering if it's not something done in programming that's a little off. Because I can't imagine the operating software to be off at all. But somebody help me out. What's the operating software I use? It's Mach 3 is what I still use. I know Mach 4 has been out for a while. Words cutting deep and looks off. Okay, when you say cutting deep, okay, here's the thing. When I do most of this stuff, the depths I'm doing are usually like 0.13, 0.15. The depths are not very deep. So the only time I cut anything real deep is when I'm trying to cut through it. I found that some end mills measure a tad less. A 0.25 is sometimes 0.25. Oh, yes. Now that may be true. The Vermont ones I've used and have worked great. Does anybody use Linux? Vincent York is asking if anybody uses Linux. I myself do not use Linux, but I haven't had any problems with the size of the bits from Vermont. Freud or Freud, however you like to say it, those have measured almost exactly. I mean, if they're not perfect 20.25, they are very, very close enough that I couldn't notice. The end mills with HQ Master, those are the biggest ones I've used, is HQ Master, and I've never really had real problems with any of them being outside the parameters they suggest. Yes, I'm going to measure. Yeah, I mean, measuring your bits wouldn't be, if I was having those problems, I would dang sure. First thing that I attacked, Rustic Works family. They're the ones who sent me over to watch you. Okay. He was always asking for prayers and telling people to subscribe. Yeah, Brandon's a really good guy. I don't know his wife and kids as well. I've met them. I worked with Brandon for several years. He's a genuine guy. I mean, he is just the guy that he shows on the videos. That's Brandon, and he'd do anything for you. I'm still sitting here thinking about Cody's problem there. So, Christopher, since you said you've measured some of them and they're 0.245 in width, what are the brands of bits you're using? I'm not using the most expensive bits simply because let's face it, I'm too lazy to sit and sharpen bits all day. But I don't know what other brands you might be using. There are some real high-end brands, excuse me, I don't even touch. Some of those bits go $40, $50 a pop. I think one of my end mills cost me 30, and I decided never again because it didn't do any better than my other end mills that I was getting real cheap, the cheaper versions. And I just probably not going to go to more expensive ones right now. Okay, Vincent York or Vince Fusion 360. Vincent, my experience with Fusion 360, I downloaded the free version when I was first looking at software. I did tons of reading on it, went to use it, and then my biggest mistake was I got Vectric, or I got the free version of Vectric, and I was done. Vectric, in my opinion, is so much easier to use. It was just so much more user friendly, and I just never have gone back to Fusion 360 or any other software of that kind. I just bought a Mana with inserts. Haven't tried them yet. I haven't ever even tried a Mana on mine. I would be shocked if you had any problems with something like a Mana because they're tried and true. They've been around forever. I figured they're going to. I'll have to email a picture to you. It'll probably help more. Okay, yeah, Cody, email me a picture. Absolutely. I'll give you any information I've got. Try to help you however I can. And I'll be honest. The reason that I've gone to a Vermont style bit that works at a lumberyard, and he turned me on to them. And my first round of them, I got them for like $1 over cost. And then after that, I mean, of course, I had to pay what they were selling them for, but he sold me on them real easy. And if you could find a lumberyard that would do that kind of stuff, you could try a bunch of different bits until you found one that said, hey, this one's cost effective and a good bit, does what I want it to do. All of Sam, I agree. You agree. Hang on, let me go back up. See if I missed something. Using. Oh, okay. You're talking about the parts. Yes, they are expensive. Type that in chat, please. Okay. What's that? The software? Vectric. V-carve is where I'd start. Plan on doing lots of 3D, and then I would go to Vectric Aspire. But the Aspire, I mean, honestly, unless you're going to do 3D, I wouldn't even look at Aspire. Most of the stuff I do still on the V-carve side of things. Okay, if Vermont is Vermont, America, they should be quality stuff. I'm assuming it's the same Vermont. I had never actually researched them. I've always just been happy. And Vincent, if that's not what you wanted wanted me to type, just tell me what it is you're after. Who just popped in? Oh, Joseph Richter. Is it Richter? Joseph Richter. Howdy. Glad you could join us. But yeah, on software side, I love Vectric products. Once you buy something from them, you can go to their website and they have all kinds of free projects that you can download the program for it and just shoot it straight into your software and it'll cut it. I haven't done but like one of those though. I mean, one of the 3D things I did was that way, but most of the stuff is stuff I've just came up with my own looking for the software. Okay. So yes, it's Vectric V-carve or Vectric Aspire. I would start with the V-carve. Like I said, it's $700, but I don't think you'll be disappointed. It's very easy to use. Now learning some of the graphic stuff's a little bit more, but there's plenty of videos out there about Vectric that you could pick it up pretty quick. Just a note on Fusion. 2 years I'm a novice, and I come from CNC maintenance. It's great, but there's a huge learning curve. Just from what I remember from messing with the free version, yeah, I felt like there was going to be a huge learning curve too, especially after I saw Vectric products. The Vectric just hands down. I mean, it was so simple to pick up and use. Now I'm going to allow that 3D side of it is a little more involved. Just the programming, like the American flag, referred to it earlier, the one that was wavy. I don't know how many hours of programming I had on that one thing, but it was my first go. And probably if I jumped in and tried to do something like that again, it would be the same kind of deal because I haven't done any 3D in a while. And so it'd probably take me hours to do it, which isn't a big deal. What's your average depth of cut with your V-bits? I would say my average cut is 0.13 to 0.15 of an inch. I don't go real deep. The deepest I've probably actually cut something that was a graphic was probably 0.5 inch, and it took forever because you have to take 15 passes over the same thing over and over. I found that at 0.13, it's pretty much a one pass and done thing. And there's times some of the stuff I'll go down to 0.11, just depending on the depth of some of the other stuff, because some graphics that are on there, if you put your minimum depth at 0.11, the deeper graphics still may be 0.5 inch. So what I try to do is just manipulate it to where 0.13 is kind of the norm, and it makes for usually about a 45-minute cut on most of the stuff that I do. I would say 30 to 45 minutes is probably about the average amount of time I actually spend cutting a lot of these things. And I usually call it an hour because just what I have to do with the wood. I mean, that includes, cutting it down on the table saw, running it through the planer a few times to make sure it's flat, which is another big tip. If you're using wood that you got from a mill, you have got to plane it down in a thickness planer. I don't care how smooth they say it is. I swear to you, it's still not smooth. I've got some that I thought was perfect. That cedar that I was using, I still try to run it through a planer to make a perfect flat surface, just so you don't get anything unequal, because man, it messes up a project if you get something that's just a little tilted. I did text with a 60 degree the other day. 0.2 was way too deep. And that's what I found. And like I said, try 0.13. The most I usually goes 0.15. And with a 60 degree, I'd go 0.11. You'll do it in one pass. The only thing you get with 0.11 that you're going to run into problems is the painting and the sanding. When I paint something, since I usually don't use Aura mask, which is something else I'll get into, but if you use an Aura mask and you're happy with that style, you can get away with 0.11. But sanding a 0.11, you're probably going to sand out some effects on it. 0.13 occasionally you will, but it's rare. Okay. Okay. Do you use sanding, stain, coating before? Okay, Bill B. Sometimes I use sanding sealer. Sometimes I use just a light coat of spray poly. And it depends on the woods I use. Usually on the plywood stuff, when it's birch plywood, I don't use anything. On oak, I use a sanding sealer because oaks, whenever the paint bleeds into oak, you don't get it out. And if you do get it out, you've sanded a deep into your graphic. So I try not to do that with oak. That and oak is so expensive. I don't want to mess it up. And especially now, the way wood is, it has gone crazy. So talking about sanding sealers and polyurethanes, Aura mask. Aura mask is a roll of adhesive that you can roll over a piece of wood. It sticks down. You rub it down with a flat surface with an edge and make it stick to the wood. I've used it and it's worked great before. I've had 2 or 3 other times that I didn't have it down hard enough, or the only thing that was really holding it down was the clamps. When it comes loose, you'll do it once or twice and I haven't been back to it because it wrapped up around my spindle. I was 45 minutes to an hour just getting it unwrapped around my spindle. My fear there is if it gets bound up too tight and it burns up my spindle, we're in a bind because that's a 3.5 horsepower. It shouldn't bind it up, but it did bind it up one time to a point that you could tell it was dragging. So I had to kill the machine, stop what I was doing, and just start over on the project. So that's why I really don't use Aura mask. Bill B, I'll have to agree with you. It does not work very well at all with a V-bit. Aura mask does not. Vincent York, you have a new sub. Well, thank you, Vincent. I would love to find something that was just kind of a constant go-to for me that I could cover the wood with and be done with it. And I'm going to tell you one of the easiest ways I found to do it. If you're happy with the color of wood you have, paint the surface black or red or green or whatever you want the background to be. And when it cuts into that wood, it leaves it a nice tan color. I've done projects like that before that look awesome. I don't do it much, but I kind of enjoy the airbrush and stuff. I mean, just because the way it looks, the way it comes out. I am trying to learn more. That is one thing I am trying to learn a lot more about, the airbrushing, is so I can be more artistic with it, so I can fade colors and so I can make things blend better. How do you go about getting customers? Well, it's not hard. I'll put it this way. I don't do a lot for profit anymore. When I first started, I was taking a lot of orders. And once you start taking orders for this kind of stuff, you will find how quickly it spirals out of control and you get 40 orders deep, 30 orders deep. And I got so deep in orders and was having to keep up with so much stuff. I just didn't enjoy it. And my other big problem is I don't enjoy doing the same thing over and over. My biggest example would be that Wahoo board, that marble game that I did a good while back. I don't know how many of those things I've made. I've made a ton of them, and I can't stand making them because it is literally just a drill route, just a drill pattern. What's the word I'm looking for? A drill tool path. And so a drill bit just literally sits there and just goes through and pops holes in them. Now, when I first did it, and I did it with a V-bit, and it cut every little hole individually. It took forever. So I've reworked it and did it with the drill tool path with a 1/2 inch bit. Doesn't take as long, still boring. So I don't like watching the same thing over and over. That's why I don't do a whole bunch of repeat stuff, is because I like the one-off stuff. I like to recreate it one time and be done with it. Christopher Noble, sometimes the oils in some woods won't let oil mask stick well. I'll agree. I'm cleaning some woods with acetone and then tape the oil mask, and still oil mask still is great. And you're probably absolutely right. The oil is probably what's keeping a lot of it from sticking to the wood. My problem with tape and oil mask, if it comes up in the middle and you, for example, are using a V-bit, it can still get hooked up. And I mean, still get wrapped up in your bit. So, I mean, you need it all to stick like it's supposed to. And the one thing you're doing there that I didn't think about doing was coating a piece of wood with oil mask or with acetone before I did it, just to pull all the oils out. And that's a definite idea. I've used sealer on chestnut before, and then stain in the lettering after it comes out nice. Yes. I've done one with stain in the lettering or in the graphic. Beyond that, I've only done that once. It was oil mask and it didn't work. It seeped right underneath my oil mask, and basically I ended up just painting the whole thing. How are wood prices? Olive Sims says, how are wood prices in Oklahoma? Horrible. Last time I checked, our plywood here was $70 a sheet for a 4x8 sheet of 3/4 inch plywood. And that's construction grade. That's as far as I got. I didn't even look to see what cabinet wood is, the stuff that I usually do most of my projects on. I didn't even look to see how much it was. I did take a look at their oak, which I like to use a lot. The oak was through the roof, and I know why. I mean, because there's a lot of oak cabinets being made around here. I understand. I mean, if there's a lack of it, I mean, and there's a shortage, I get it. You got to still make your money, but it sure cuts down the little hobby woodworker, because I can't afford to do that. Silhouette when it comes out. Okay. Sticks are great after the masking. I meant stick after the masking. Okay, you're losing me. Okay, so aura mask sticks great after the masking. Are you meaning after? I don't know, Christopher. I'm not getting what you're saying. Sticks great after the masking, I meant. Okay, Adventure Roads, 7th like reminder to hit like button. Thank you, Adventure Roads. If y'all guys hadn't gone over and checked out Adventure Roads, go check him out. Correct me, Adventure Roads, if I'm wrong. Are you in Michigan, Minnesota? Up that direction. He's always doing stuff out on his property, and a lot of it's very entertaining to watch. Just go check him out. That's at Adventure Roads. Hendrix. I meant Sealer before. Whoa. Okay. So I like doing the sealer before the cut, and it generally works well for me. Like I said, the plywood stuff I generally don't. I probably should. It's just with that birch. I'm gonna tell you, you can't do a light coat of poly on the birch, because it'll stain up the birch, and you'll have to run it through a planer to get the stain look out. Vincent York, $70 a sheet. Yes, $70 for a 4x8 sheet of 3/4 inch plywood. That's very high here. It was whenever I was buying the cabinet grade stuff, I could get the cabinet grade stuff for $25 a sheet, sometimes 30. And so, yeah, it's a big difference after cleaning with acetone. Okay. Christopher Noble. Yeah. The acetone idea is a great idea. I'm going to have to try that one. I'm going to have to order more aura masks, because I actually don't have any right now, but I'd be willing to try that, because I really don't enjoy all the sanding, and I'm always afraid I'm going to sand out my detail. Adventure Roads, Northern Michigan for Adventure Roads. He Northern Michigan. Here's the one thing. I couldn't make it in Northern Michigan. I know how cold it gets up there, and I'm a big weenie. And Adventure Roads, remind me if I'm wrong, you're in law enforcement, right? I believe you're a jailer, you're a county deputy, something like that. It's been a while since I've read your about, so I watched your videos. I just hadn't checked you out in your about. We will be on a trip to see our kids in Oklahoma in college in September. Outstanding. You need to give me a shout. What college do they go to? Because there's about 3 of them that I'm really close to. Bill B, have you dealt with cabinet maker leftovers using them as projects? I actually have. We have a cabinet maker up here north of town, and they've got a waste bin that I can get in and get stuff. I've used it a couple of times. The problem you run into is there are so many people that go out and raid that before you get there, and I'm not going to get up at 5 in the morning and go do something like that. I just don't feel right snooping around somebody's property and that time of night. That's what you almost got to do to get any of the good stuff around here. Adventure Roads. Well, back up one. And the other thing, cabinet maker stuff, yeah, they'll give you leftovers, but the thing you're going to run into is I got questioned thoroughly about what I was planning on doing with the CNC machine because they're afraid that I was going to start making cabinets and cut into the business, which I assured them I wouldn't. I gave them my website and told them just to give it a look. I'm not doing anything like cabinets. Don't plan to either. Okay, love your signs. Sometimes we need to sit down and figure out what we want. Put an order in one. Absolutely, Adventure Rose. I love doing channel logos because they are a one-off thing, and it kind of goes back to that thing where I don't have to make it over and over. But you absolutely need to, if you can get an idea, I'll work on it. I mean, I do design a lot of stuff, so I'll see what I can come up with for you. M. Pedmar, good night, everyone. Have a blessed week. You too, M. Pedmar. Sam, I use shellac sometimes before filling V-carves to prevent bleed. How about you? I've never even used shellac. Heard of it, but I've never used it. And I've done a lot of woodwork in my time. I just never used shellac. So you just coat the inside of the V-carves with it? So, I mean, I could do that with polyurethane. I could coat the inside of the V-carves. My overspray is usually what I run into a problem bleeding. Yes, deputy working corrections at the jail there in Traverse City. Yes, I thought you were. I thought you were in law enforcement. Oral Roberts. Ugh. Of all the colleges you could be going to in Oklahoma, that is probably, well, it's not the farthest away from me, but it's 3.5, 4 hour drive. And it's at least a 3.5. But you still may be able to yell at me and we may be able to meet halfway and get together. Vincent York, you guys are getting ripped off. Sorry about it. Well, we are. I just don't know what to do about it down here, Vincent. We don't really have an option. My only saving grace is I do have a large pile of cedar, which y'all are fixing to start seeing. I bought a lot of it before all this started, and it was bought from a sawmill. And so I'll be doing a lot more stuff in cedar because I'm running out of other wood. Dan Newman, I like watching your videos. Thank you, Dan. I mentioned this at the first of the video. I'm going to try to start switching up some of my content just a little bit. I'm still going to try to do woodwork every week, but I'm going to try to throw a video or two more in just to accommodate my want to do some travel stuff. Maybe I missed it, but what software do you use for your designing? I use Vectric VCarve or Vectric Aspire. I recommend everybody start with Vectric VCarve because it is still a $700 software, and Aspire is a $2,000 software. But if you get VCarve, you may want to step up. I did because I looked into some money. Hendrix Woodworking, a Habitat store nearby gets cabinet scrap donations. You pay, but it's not bad. $6 for 21 by 48 by 5/8 pre-finished. That is outstanding. Now, I wish our cabinet store did that because 21 by 48, that's a ton of signs right there and finished on both sides. Our stuff's usually just small scraps. I mean, you're going to get about 2 foot by 3 inches or 4 inches. We'll be coming from Texas up Route 66 when we go. Outstanding. I don't live on Route 66, but I do live 15, 20 minutes off I-35, which comes straight out of Dallas. You need to email me so we can figure out your route and we can meet up. We did our deck. This is again Venture Roads. We did our deck from cedar logging in February. It's a beautiful deck, pretty cool. It did not come from Lowe's or Home Depot, and that's the stuff I've got. It's local redwood is what red cedar is what I'm using, and it's local trees, and it's a beautiful tree if you can stand the what it puts off. It really messes my allergies up pretty bad. Red cedar is one of our biggest causes of allergy problems around here. Have you carved in PVC? I have not. I've had some requests to do that. I've actually had some people send me some stuff to do that in, and I haven't tried it. I've got to research it because of your speeds. You really have to slow your speeds down doing PVC just because it'll melt. And I wouldn't want to deal with that mess when it started melting. Oh, awesome. We have the white cedar in our area. Now, see, I'd like to try some white cedar. That's awesome, too. Vincent York, there's a company called Talus that carry confirmation supplies. Oh, that's awesome. I hadn't looked up. I'll jump on my phone and put that in notes. Well, I've already got notes pulled up. I'll pull in Talus. And that's done. I'll look them up later this evening and see what that's about. Man, there was a topic I was going to get off on, and I cannot remember now what it was. My memory's gotten so bad. I blame all the doctors. Let's see. So is white cedar real porous and it's a lightweight wood? Because I'm like the red cedar, it's real susceptible to cracking if you don't seal the ends as soon as you get it cut. Do you put your brand on your work? I don't. I should. It wouldn't be that hard. I've actually looked at an actual brand where that I could heat up and brand in the back of it. And Brandon over at Rustic Woodworks was saying that he was actually looking at a hot iron to brand his stuff. And I think he was using a stamp at the time because I have some of his stuff and it has a stamp on it. I think he was going to do a branding iron. I don't know if he ever did. I'd love to do a branding iron just to sear it in there. I think it'd be cool. Be a lot cooler to do it that way. Bill B. here in Branson. We're wondering how you doing since your illness? We love your videos. Got us starting with airbrushing. Thanks so much. Well, my illness is pretty much gone. I mean, the heart surgery was a success. Had the heart valves replacement, and I'm still on a lot of medications for it, but it's basically preventative stuff. The one thing that still bugs me is I ended up with a blockage from the plaque off the heart valve, and it did 100% blockage in the leg and did some nerve damage in my left foot. So I still can't feel it. I'm actually got a doctor's appointment tomorrow to see if he can do anything with it. And after that, if he can't figure it out, I'm probably just going to throw my hands in the air and be happy that I can walk and just move on with it being numb because I can walk on it. So it's not the end of the world. So Bill B, you live there in Branson? Hendrix Woodworking. I've been branding, but I'm switching to little Orator portable laser. Awesome. You know, there's actually one thing. I've actually got a laser CNC, and I don't use it. It's a cheap one. I just got it to play with, and I played with it a little bit, but the problem is it used freeware, and I haven't figured out how to make the software work from Vectric to that. If I could get that figured out, I would use it, but it's the programming of it is a nightmare. So I would prefer if I can figure out how to make Vectric go over, and I honestly ought to research that more because that machine's just sing. And Bill B said, yeah. So you live in Branson, you're around woodworking all the time. And most of the other stuff up there is done by hand, a lot of wood carving. Olive Sam, I have some cedar pallet wood that was given to me. Any ideas on project? Pieces are about 4 inches wide and 2 to 3 feet long. So my first thing on that is, how thick is it? Uh, if it's at least half to 3/4 an inch, glue it up. I mean, run it each side of the boards down a table saw, make it a nice square edge, and just run you a bead of glue, of woodworking glue down it, clamp it up. And because a lot of the stuff I do, this, especially the oak, is clamped together and just glued up. And I make my own boards that are, 16 inches wide or however long wide I'm doing them. Bill B, be careful with the paint mist in your lungs. Ooh. Well, now that's not a good thought, Bill B. I hadn't even thought of that. Man, I can see it with the cleaner, but now you're going to make me paranoid and I want to wear a mask painting. Joseph Richter, I recommend using the outer machine. It's great and easy to learn, 100% recommended. Yeah, the laser itself, the machine, I figured out. It's a cheap one. It's a cheap version. And it's just the software that you have to use. And I'm trying to remember what it was. It's some freeware that you have to use with it. And if I could figure out how, like I said, make my Vectric software, it'd be awesome. Working through Hendrix Woodworking says, working through nerve damage with my girlfriend after back. Oh, yeah. I've got one of the guys I work with had back surgery, and he's still got nerve damage from his. $250 free $255 free software, but Lightburn works better for $30 a year. Okay. Stand by. I'm going to write down Lightburn software. I hadn't heard of that one either. Lightburn for CNC. I will definitely take that tip and run with it and see what that's about. Hendrix will rank 2 comments there. Yeah, yeah. $255. Okay, 2 comments. Yeah, okay, I got you. Hendrix with GRBL. That is, yep. That's the language that they're trying to get you to use, isn't it? Heaven's Gate Cherry Farms. Hello at Smokey CNC Woodworks. If you guys haven't checked out Heaven's Gate Cherry Farm, it was one of the first signs that I made on the channel. I made it of oak, and you may have to correct me. I believe it's about 3 foot long, probably about 16, 18 inches tall. It is one of the top 3 most viewed videos on my channel just because of how that sign came out. Bill B, use a fan blowing on you keeps the mist to a minute. Now I can do that. Absolutely. I'm liking that a lot better than the mask wearing. I got really tired of wearing masks. I mean, we're obviously going back that direction, and not to dispel anybody else's beliefs. I've had the shots, but I was really sick in the middle of all that mess. And so I figured I better, because I didn't want that on top of a heart problem. Joseph Richter, I also use Lightburn. Highly recommended. It's similar to VCar, and I picked it up in a few days. Well, I'm definitely going to check it out, because if I can find software that will run this little laser cutter, I'd do some laser cutting stuff on my channel too. That'd be awesome. Yeah, Heaven's Gate. Yes, it is. And I love it. Hendrix Woodworking. Sorry for the confusion. Enter key sticking. Laser GRBL is the free software. Yes. Lightburn is easy to learn and runs the laser perfectly. You guys talked me into it. I'm going to look at it, because I know my wife would love to have it running, because she could make all kinds of things. Because if y'all hadn't tried it, they make a lot of stuff in leather with these laser cutters now, and like earrings and stuff like that. And she's all about it. So I'll definitely look it up and see what it's got going on there. And I'm not wanting to cut anybody short, but we've been going for almost an hour now. My stomach's been growling for about 30 minutes of that. And guess who gets to cook on the grill? So my wife's probably getting hungry by now too. So if If you got any other questions, just shoot them real fast, and I'll try to finish this thing up in about 2 more minutes. See if we can get out of here in an hour. And the other thing about these live streams, it hadn't really dawned on me to do more of them, that I get to communicate with people. I just hadn't looked at it that way. I have no aversion to doing more of these, and I'll be sure and let people know. Pete Binyard, thank you. Please keep doing this. Bill B, I will. I'll keep doing CNC, and I'll keep doing live streams. I'm going to try to do more of these. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you I'll do one a month, but if I get up to 2 or 3 videos a week, I'll probably do at least one a month. It would be a lot easier. Good to see you up and about. Thank you, Hendrix. Heaven's Gate, good to see you. Doing good. See you later, Heaven's Gate. Confusing, but ends up being annual. Oh, okay. Okay, so on the light burn. Yeah, I'll look at it, and you've obviously got a YouTube channel too, and I'll email you, and we'll figure out what's up. Fedrick has a laser add-on for $50. Man, now you got my head turning in a different direction. If I could just put an add-on laser to my machine, I wouldn't have to change any of my programming. That would be awesome. Thank you, Vincent. So guys, that's going to be about it. I'm just going to go ahead and wrap this thing up. Like I said, I'm going to try to do more of these. I don't know if it's going to be one a month. If I start ramping up the videos more, I can do 2 or 3 a week, 2 of them being other stuff and one of them being CNC. I'll do live streams. It'll be a lot easier. So guys, I'm going to end it right there, and let's see. I got a couple more. Go eat. Good to see you. Good to see you all the same. Larry Termark, nice job. The live, Brian, keep up good work. You betcha. All right, guys. So that's going to be it for this one. And like I always end them, if y'all haven't done so yet, please subscribe, and I'll see y'all next time.